Good evening, ladies and gents, to another episode of Couch Potato Sports, Denver Broncos edition. Couch Potato Zach, I have Jimmy the Loop James, and then Anthony A Train down here below.
Wow, I haven't heard that nickname in a long time.
There
I used to
you
get
go.
called
We're
that
bringing
quite a
it
bit.
back.
Let's
We're
go.
bringing it back.
Bring it back.
Kenneth couldn't join us tonight. He had other obligations, so we wish him the best and just know we love him. Love him very much and miss him. So where do I begin? What a weekend for Colorado sports, huh? Well, Colorado football. I mean, Colorado sports too.
Sports.
If you want to
Don't
include
forget
the Rockies.
Yep.
So, for those that don't know, the Rockies have recorded their first 100-loss season.
Hell yeah.
Congratulations.
Hey, we're going for first overall picks all over the place in Colorado.
Congratulations.
Hey.
to the Colorado Rockies.
We got two sports kicking off in less than a month, but we're not heading that way. I hope.
Yes. So on the upside,
Championship or bust.
the Nuggets and the Avalanche are coming back, which thank goodness, because it has been, at least this week, I'd say a little bit of last week, but a little bit of last week was hope in a way, kind of. This week was just a roller coaster of emotions, and me personally, I go from, I don't care if this team wins another game this year, or, hey, maybe we should win to establish a winning culture so that the players that are on this roster next year know what it's like to win, so that if we do end up tanking this year and we do end up drafting Caleb Williams, he doesn't just come in on a losing culture team. But you don't want to win too many games. So, a lot of emotions going on this week. The game was, I don't even want to say rough. It was very intriguing, and not the best way. It was, Anthony and I were talking a little bit. He didn't finish the game, which completely understandable.
That's probably the first game that as long as I could remember, where I was just like, this is not worth my time right now.
If Anthony doesn't finish a game, that's a big deal. Or it's either a death in the family or they got blown out by 70.
I finished the game, but I was rooting for records.
Yeah.
You got to witness history for sure.
I felt compelled to finish the game. I felt compelled to put myself through that, to embrace the moment in a way, so that when the Broncos eventually get back on track some year, we could look back, laugh at this.
Yeah.
Because there hasn't been a lot of laughing, like funny laughter. It's been a lot of disappointing, depressing laughter. What the hell? What in the fuck was that?
We've talked ever since this podcast has been around, and there's always been hope. There's always been reasons to think that the Broncos are going to turn things around. And there's also been moments where it's like, this has to be what rock bottom is. This absolutely has to be what rock bottom is. And we were all wrong every time we said that, because what we witnessed this last weekend was absolutely rock bottom.
Hopefully,
yeah. It's a long season still.
We keep saying it's rock bottom, like you said, but
exactly.
What are the Bears going to put 90 on us? What are the Chiefs going to put 90 on us?
If the Bears put anything close to that,
I
don't know, man.
I was telling my wife, and I was telling a couple other football fans who were also Broncos, and then like Anthony, I have a Niners fan as well, and so he's pretty happy. But he also supports the Broncos because he lives here. I truthfully, right now, how I'm feeling, I don't care if we win another game. In fact, I think this whole team majority just needs an overhaul. After that, because I saw a lot of quitting. I saw a lot of piss poor effort. I don't see a football team that, I heard this quote and it was pretty funny but depressing. When CU moves out of the Pac-12, the Broncos should take their place. Because if the Broncos are going to go out there and then give up college-like scores, because you don't see 70 points in the NFL. What is it, 4 times in history?
And the last time was in the 60s?
66?
Yeah.
That's what you see when you see Alabama play Middle Tennessee Community College.
Yeah.
In their inaugural season as a football team.
Yeah.
You don't see that in the NFL because you're all supposed to be professional. You're all supposed to be competitive. You're all supposed to be top of the line players. What I saw out there was Kenneth said the Little Giants, but even the Little Giants came out with a dub against the Cowboys, the Little Cowboys, for those that have seen that movie. So I don't know, man. It was unbelievable.
It was rough to watch, man.
I was telling Anthony, I don't feel I have all of my crap talking abilities that I've had as a fan have just been stripped from me. Because there's nothing I can say to another fan base right now without them coming back and saying my team didn't give up 70. What do you say to that?
Not much to say.
You're right.
Dude, we don't have a leg to stand on at all. You're absolutely right.
And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but that was god awful. Hands down, the worst game I've ever watched in my life from the Broncos. Hands down. Completely trumps. I know the Super Bowl was rough, Super Bowl 48, but this was worse.
Oh, yeah, because at least we were in the Super Bowl at the time.
Exactly. And that was
we saw the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
Because Peyton was coming back, and it was like, oh,
right,
they'll be back.
Exactly. And, we had 2 more years with Peyton. And we ended up, thank goodness we had a Super Bowl with him. Because I couldn't imagine.
That's the leg we can stand on.
Yeah.
And it's one that I have stood on over the last week is that I've still been able to witness my team win 3 Super Bowls in our lifetime. Yeah. And it's not even like that's like desperation at this point saying that even.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super unfortunate. Starting to feel like a Cowboys fan, bringing back the past, back in the VHS days. But thankfully, we've had one in the last 10 years. But yeah, boys, I just right now, like I said, I'm to the point where what is the point of winning? That's how I feel. I'm not saying that's what they should do, but I think for them to make this up, they need to go on a 7-game winning streak. Truthfully. In my opinion. I think they just need to pop off a historical winning streak. Just pump out 7 to 8 wins in a row.
I don't even know if that does. I think you might need to absolutely beat the crap out of the Bears first.
And I thought about that, Jimmy. I don't know how satisfying that's going to be.
Well,
it won't be. I'm not saying it will be.
Yeah,
Well, thankfully for the Broncos players is that they play the Bears this week. You imagine if we had to go into KC this week. At least they play the Bears and there's some hope because I saw a little post game interview with McGlinchey, and he even made a comment well, at least we're all see this coming week as a good opportunity to start riding the ship. And they couldn't say that if they were playing against obviously the Chiefs or really anybody else other than the Bears and maybe the Jets in a couple weeks also. But yeah, man, it's rough. We were texting throughout the week like we always do, and we were just kind of talking about how like almost like trying to find someone to blame. And obviously, like most of Broncos country, has Vance Joseph in the crosshairs. And we kind of got into a conversation about, this has got to be Vance Joseph's fault because this defense didn't have much turnover from last year. And if anything, I thought like the additions made to this defense were good ones. I don't think we necessarily lost anything coming into this season.
That's about it.
Right. Of course, we don't have Simmons out there.
Not 70 points injuries.
Right. But like even just like, even excluding this week alone, like
on paper, we got better this offseason.
Exactly. We added guys like Zach Allen and drafted a stud like Drew Sanders. And, it's just, you have PS2 continuing to like prove he's the best corner in the league. And first of all, the stats that are getting dropped on, Tyreek had 99 yards against
That wasn't against him.
That wasn't against Surtain. So
no, he had 38 yards against Surtain.
Exactly. But Surtain did get toasted by Robbie Chosen. But the big thing with Surtain is like it was an embarrassing touchdown because of the way Chosen like ran horizontally across the goal line and like just made it even worse. But Surtain didn't give up on the play. And that's like one thing that I took away from it is like there was a handful of players that you could see not give up. And Surtain was one, obviously Mims. But other than that, man, it was obviously really brutal. And in that conversation we were having about like, Vance Joseph's got to be the problem, right? I'd mentioned to you guys that they had 24 missed tackles. 24. And Zach, you made a good point during that conversation about like, well, don't you think like coaching, I don't remember exactly what you said, but something along the lines of like coaching has to be responsible for that kind of effort or technique when it's like, I think that was one of the biggest things is the effort wasn't there. And we saw a really, really slow team play against the fastest team in the league. Like, and I'll give the Dolphins credit. Like they're stacked and they didn't even have Jalen Waddle out there. Like another probably top 15 receiver in the league wasn't out there because of injury. But they're just fast. Like they're unbelievably fast. Mostert's the fastest running back in the league. Devon Achane is now probably, if not the fastest, the second fastest to Mostert. Tyreek's obviously the fastest guy in the league. Like I think we saw where the Broncos are in talent versus where they need to be. And I think we've, for the last handful of years, like had our Broncos glasses on. Like at the point I'm at. We've had our Broncos glasses on and seen, well, look at all this talent. We've got guys like Judy, Surtain. Now we got Russ. We have all these talented players. Do we know for sure that the rest of the NFL and sports world sees the Broncos as a talented team? Especially after what we just saw. I think that like it was like a wake-up call. Like maybe the Broncos really don't have as talented of a team roster-wise as we have been thinking. And it's just, I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I don't see any other way to go about it than just like tearing this down and doing a real rebuild. Because it's always been like these soft rebuilds. Oh, we just need a quarterback. We'll just get the quarterback and a good coach. And then we saw what happened last year.
How did John Elway put it? It was never a rebuild. How do you put it?
It was a retool.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And there was years in the past since our Super Bowl that like I truly believe that was the case. Like right. I think if they could have gotten like a really a good quarterback, a top 15 type of quarterback, the year or two after the Super Bowl win, they could have been a playoff team. And they were almost a playoff team with Simeon under center that following year. Right. But then, we got in that habit that really bad franchises do of hiring a coach, then firing the coach, then getting this quarterback, and that's not going to work out. We'll upgrade. It was just the Broncos over the last 7 years have been doing what bad franchises do to stay bad. And I think because we are such loyal fans and we are just so used to having a good product on the field, even in down years, our down years were like 2010 when we were able to draft Vaughn, and then it was like Tebow happened, and then obviously Peyton happened, and we had great years after that. But they just, I don't know, man. I just think that they are in such a bad habit of doing what bad franchises do, and the Broncos fans and even some of the media have just thought like, well, it's the Broncos. They'll get back to it. It'll be one of these years. It's going to happen. Like, they're not a losing organization. And I think if we didn't already know, now we know for sure, like, yeah, this right now is a losing organization.
Yeah, for sure. And whatever faith anybody in the media or, like you were saying, had still in the Broncos after last weekend, it is completely gone. You know, you had guys like Colin Cowherd calling Drew Lock a dark horse MVP, you know, before the season for the reasons that you're saying, Anthony. You know, because it's the Broncos organization. You know, we should be in the playoffs. We should be competing every year, even in our down years. But the one thing I'm really holding on to, and it's why I truly believe this has to be rock bottom, is the difference between every other year. We're going into a full season, including the off season, with ownership now. Yeah. You know, that's the one thing I'm really holding on to is this ownership. This is just the leftovers from when they bought the team, from all the suck over the last several years. And that's kind of what I've just been holding on to. That's that last bit of optimism is, you know, we've got the ownership group. We seemingly have the head coach. You know, maybe we might see a mix up at GM. I'm not calling for it by any means, but it seems like moving forward, we should be on the up. But the one thing I kind of noticed post game was, you know, after getting beat 70-20, I noticed Sean Payton, he talked a hell of a lot about the offense, which, you know, he talked about the defense as well, but it really was telling me a lot, not only this game, but the couple games before this game as well. I really don't think there's a chance in hell that Russell Wilson's our quarterback next year, boys. Just based on how Sean Payton talks about him, just kind of approaches, you know, his demeanor when he talks, body language.
It's been since he walked in the door as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think even if, I mean, we rally off, I mean, I don't know, man. Does it take like an MVP type of season from here on out for him to even stay? I mean,
that's something that, so in the article I'm going to send you guys, I took some screenshots of it, and let me just pull it up here and just like read just a couple things from it. So it's an athletic article that I read today, and it's pretty much like talking about what you just were saying, Jimmy, like that Peyton is like almost not using Russ, but like Russ is going to be the scapegoat for this year. And it sucks because Russ has played pretty damn well, honestly. Like we've all seen the stats. His stats are literally through 3 games almost identical to Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Almost identical. And Russ is even passing the eye test. Like, I don't remember who the throw was to, but he got smashed on Sunday against the Dolphins, and he threw a freaking dart to somebody running like a deep post in between 2 defenders, like vintage Russ type of throw. And that's something we didn't really see too much of last year. And he's making plays. He's rolling out and doing things that it's like, that's what we expected to get when we traded for Russ. And that's what we expected to get this team over the top. But it talks like, I don't remember if you guys, or I don't know if you guys know this, but the Broncos through 3 games are burning timeouts early in the game faster than any other team in the league. Something that we bitched about with Nathaniel Hackett.
Mm-hmm.
And last year, it's Hackett's fault. He's the first-year head coach. It can't be Russ. But I don't remember if you I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was after the Commanders game. Peyton kind of threw Russ under the bus and said like that Wilson he's struggling to communicate the plays quickly enough to the huddle. And then he even like, and I quote, "If we need to wristband it, we will," Sean Payton said after that game, which is not something that most head coaches are saying about their all-pro level quarterback. And he even alluded to the fact that the turning point in the Commanders game, which I think is true to Peyton's credit, was Wilson's fumble, which it really was the turning point in the game. Because I remember watching that game like, oh, the offense has been so efficient. Like, we're just going to go down here and score and keep the momentum on our side. And then when he fumbled that ball when he was scrambling out to the left, that was like the Commanders never looked back after that. And if I mean, I know you guys know, but like Sean Payton's coaching mentor through the NFL was Bill Parcells, who is like historically like an asshole head coach. Like, I mean, old school as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it seems like Sean Payton is that, and I'm okay with it to an extent. Don't get me wrong. Like, but I don't know. It's just there's just so many things going through my head about like what could be going on, and like I guess I'll just jump to like
I'm tracking what you're trying to say.
The conspiracy theory behind like Sean Payton taking on this job and having Russ as his quarterback. Like early on in the right when he got here. And even though he was really trashing the previous coaching staff and how they handled Russ and how they just let him do whatever you want. I mean, if you really think about it, in a way, he's taking stabs at Russ throughout that whole process. At the time, we saw it as a good thing that needed to be said, which I still agree that it was. But, I mean, he's made comments about, like even before the season started, about how Russ needs to worry more about football Russ and not, Russell Wilson, the public figure and the celebrity. So there's just been little things. And then on top of that, you go and pay Jarrett Stidham $10 million a year to be your backup. And I remember when that signing happened, it was like people were already kind of saying like, that's pretty strange. Like everybody knows that Sean Payton loves Jarrett Stidham coming out of college. And then he goes and gets him and pays him a lot of money to be the backup. So there's just like, when you kind of take a step back and look at the bigger picture, it's like, has Peyton really already he just kind of knew this was going to fail and he's setting up Russ to take the blame for it? And I didn't even realize that until you said that, Jimmy, but like, he is not really talking about the defense at all after the loss to the Dolphins. It's like still been like offensive. It's really strange. You're muted, Jimmy.
My bad.
There you go.
I mean, he mentioned it very briefly, the defense, basically just the fact that it was embarrassing how many points were put up on us. And then it was straight back to the offense. But, the turnovers, but this and that. It's kind of something I really saw coming when Sean Payton was hired. Not the fact that Russell Wilson would necessarily be scapegoated in this way, but the fact that Russell Wilson was going to always be the scapegoat if this season didn't go well. No matter what, because of how he performed last season, if this season doesn't go well, and even if Russell Wilson's a 14 to 16 quarterback in the league, it's still his fault, no matter what. It sucks because Russell Wilson is playing really well, and it is kind of the one thing that we can look at from last game. It was like, all right, well, Russ played well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess maybe this was what he always planned.
Well, I was right before we got on, I was kind of telling Zach about a conspiracy theory that I came across. I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on it. And this is credit to Mile High Mario on Twitter or X and on Instagram too. And he pretty much like started talking about how right when, you know, Sean Payton has like right off the bat from getting here, just bashed the last year's whole operation for the Broncos. And obviously threw Nathaniel Hackett under the bus and threw George Payton under the bus even. Like, he threw everybody under the bus. And when you look at it, it's like maybe he was already laying the foundation of, if we suck this year, just look about a year ago. These are mostly all the guys from that coaching staff, the way things were run then, not all my guys yet. And then he added in this conspiracy that, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I remember when he said this, Sean Payton, when he had his year off from coaching and he was with Fox, he mentioned how the NFL should think about implementing a lottery-style draft system, like all other major sports, to prevent tanking, specifically for Caleb Williams. And in this conspiracy theory,
I see where it's going.
That gets brought up of Peyton just talking about a year ago, saying that Caleb Williams is a generational talent at quarterback. He can absolutely see teams doing what they can to tank for him, and that the NFL should implement a lottery if they want to protect that from happening. Fast forward, he gets hired by the Broncos. And if we remember during that whole coaching search, like, he really wasn't the Broncos' number one target. Like, it was always Harbaugh. And then it started coming out like the football people in the building wanted Dan Quinn, as I did. I have the last two coaching searches. And
there was someone else in there too.
And then it
he popped up right at the end and became like the favorite.
DeMeco Ryans.
No, not even him. There was someone else too.
I don't remember who that was, but anyways, there was one guy who kept wanting Peyton, that you kept hearing about during that coaching search. Who was the one guy? Was George Penner. Penner was the one that was like the one that was pushing for Peyton. And if we remember correctly, like, it didn't look like Peyton to the Broncos was even going to happen. Like, he was interviewing elsewhere, and it was like, oh, that's not going to even happen. So we don't need to worry about that. And then when it's kind of started seeming that like Harbaugh's gone, and maybe DeMeco Ryans isn't going to be here, Dan Quinn is kind of sick of the Broncos teasing him, then it was like, boom, Sean Payton's here. So it's almost like they didn't really want each other until David Shaw did. Oh, David Shaw, just the Stanford connections and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now Peyton, to go along with this conspiracy theory, now Peyton gets in the building, starts trashing the previous, whole operation for the Broncos from last year, as almost a way to like lay the foundation of, this team was horrible last year, and there's going to be some leftovers here. So what's the first thing he does? His first hire as the head coach of the Denver Broncos was obviously hiring Vance Joseph as the DC, which is, pretty disliked around these parts for the head coaching job he put us through. Really,
who honestly was never a great DC to begin with.
Was never really a great DC. And especially after interviewing the likes of Rex Ryan, Chuck Pagano, who lives here in Denver, like guys that are like, these are really good DCs, and decided not to keep Avero, who everybody in Bronx country loved. We were even like, screw it, put him as head coach.
Mm-hmm. Just so we didn't lose him.
And exactly. And then you fast forward to the season starting, the defense with what we all just said, we thought on paper got better, are like way worse. Like, not even the same like not even they don't even look the same out there. Like it's
I mean,
so much. It's
coaching.
like
it has to be
right.
Yeah.
And then, but what is to go along with this conspiracy theory? What is Peyton's bread and butter? Offense, right? Well, what's looked a lot better? The offense. But obviously,
Hands down.
You can't win games in the NFL without a solid defense. Like you'll win a couple, but in the long haul of the season, like with a defense this bad, you're not going to win a lot of ball games. So Peyton is able to say, "Well, look, I did my part. I brought Russ back. He's putting points up. He looks good, but you're still losing. So now it's starting to come out. Well, maybe Russ gets benched eventually this season. So Peyton can say, well, I did my part. The offense looks better. They're still going to be losing games, which then now is starting to come out. He's kind of throwing Russ under the bus. So what will probably eventually happen if the Broncos keep losing games? Russ is probably going to get benched, which pretty much solidifies the fact that he's gone next year. And yes, the Broncos will eat a lot of money, but not as much as they would if they were to keep him after next year, like we've talked about on this podcast before. So you get a little bit of saving grace from the fact that you don't have to pay him $50 million for the next 4 years every year. And he hasn't obviously not fired Vance Joseph, which I don't even know if it's going to happen at all. Because at this point, according to this conspiracy theory, everything is happening the way Sean Payton wanted it to in order to not be the bad guy.
Almost to prove his point in a way.
Well, he stayed loyal to his coaching staff that he brought in, even though he knows he's, especially on defense, going to be horrible, lose enough games while playing good enough on offense to say, I'm still Sean Payton. I'm still an offensive guru, and still give yourself a better chance of landing the big fish, the generational quarterback that he is on record saying that he would if he was in the NFL would put in measures to stop teams from tanking for. It's like, it's just when you start thinking about it, and it is out there, I get it. But is it really it makes sense, right?
It's funny you bring all of this up because after witnessing that game on Sunday, there has to be something else. Like, the fan in me cannot accept the fact that an NFL team just had 70 points dropped on them, and it's just because they're a bad team.
We've seen we've seen some horrendous teams in the NFL over the years.
That haven't had 70 points dropped on them.
Right. Never.
And if I'm being honest, like our team compared to those teams, but compared to the Browns, compared to the Lions, compared to the Texans when they in their inaugural season, are better than those teams. They are, like, roster-wise, talent-wise, all that stuff, just better.
Yeah, and coaching-wise, of course.
Going from a top 5 defense last year to the 32nd ranked defense, there has to be something.
At least we hope. At least we hope.
If the end goal is to get Caleb Williams, sign me up.
Dude,
sign me up. Because I'd rather have the generational quarterback in Caleb Williams on a rookie contract for at least a couple years, 3 years, before we hopefully sign him for a long-term big deal because he is him.
Right.
Than to just – and I said this earlier. What's the point of winning? What is the point? To what, go 6-11? 5-12 again? And then you
draft at 8, 10.
Yeah, it compromises your draft position. If that is truly the end goal, I'm fine.
Right.
I'm cool with it.
To be fair, because I mean, everybody always says like no respectable head coach or franchise would ever truly tank. None of them would. But
not openly.
Who is kind of notorious for bending the rules a little bit and
Bill Belichick.
Well, no, bending the rules a little bit, pissing off the league, other coaches, has been in trouble with the league and other
So Sean
franchises.
Payton.
Sean Payton.
You
Yeah.
know what though? I mean, so the first part of it, of that conspiracy, the self-handicapping, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. I don't think that's a conspiracy at all. I think that's exactly what he was doing out there. Was
It could have went.
at the end of the season.
Sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
I think that's exactly what he was doing. Is telling everyone if at the end of the season this doesn't go well, this is why. It's not my fault.
And that did two things too. One, he had someone to point the blame on.
Mm-hmm.
And two, if the Broncos come out and start kicking ass and they're a playoff team, look how great I am. Look what I did compared to that. And I mean, let's be real. Like Sean Payton is pretty egotistical. And in that article,
smart too. He's not an idiot.
And in that article, I'm going to send you guys. I think it was. Let me pull it up really quick so I can make sure I get it right. But where is it?
Sean Payton's been in this league too long to just forget how to coach.
Yeah,
dude.
He never left either. He spent every Sunday watching every single game for an entire year. And he was he's in tune.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't just forget.
Oh, absolutely. And all those points that you're making, Anthony, I mean, when you say them all together, it makes way too much sense. And to kind of maybe sum up the conspiracy, or maybe even take it a step further, I don't know. Maybe he's doing this all to prove his point of why there should be a lottery. Look, I'm out here tanking.
So
because I'm getting Caleb Williams.
Yep. I found the quote, and it's from an anonymous NFL executive. And this is the quote. "The best move for them could be to look at the draft," the exec said. "But here is the thing. Peyton could not stomach people thinking he is bad. If he were to tank, everyone will have to know, just like after the Washington game." That's from an anonymous NFL executive talking about Sean Payton. And what has Sean Payton done? Talked about some of the good things that the offense has done. Never really, like after this last game, he said, like, this is going to be some tough days ahead. We're going to watch it. We're going to watch the tape, and it's going to be ugly. And even James Palmer, I was on NFL Network today or yesterday, and he's obviously the Broncos, like one of the reporters, and they were he was kind of asked about like what the climate of the Broncos facility is. And he said straight up, like, it was a rough couple days for the players, coaches, front office. Like, it was ugly. But I don't know. I mean,
I think Greg Penner's in on it too. He's got to be.
Dude,
I think that interview.
I hope that's the case.
If that was the interview because it was a private interview, right, with him and Sean Payton. Was George Payton involved?
So I know. God, I'm trying to remember back what was going on then.
Either way, there had to have been some private conversation where Sean's like,
and remember, it was Penner. Sean Payton was Penner's guy. Yeah. George Payton, we know who George Payton wanted. He's always wanted Dan Quinn. Every year he's wanted Dan Quinn. Yeah, it never materialized. And then, I mean, I understand why everybody wanted Harbaugh. I mean, for me, and I believe you two also, like, Harbaugh was the big fish to us.
Yeah.
But Sean Payton was like, oh, it'd be exciting, but like the draft capital and kind of his history and kind of the dirty stuff he was doing, like maybe not. But
what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Well, I want Caleb Williams. I hope that's the case, dude. I really do.
Okay.
It's far out.
I know we mentioned it preseason, and I think we all agreed, correct me if I'm wrong, that if someone flat out told us that if we go 0-17, we will get Caleb Williams, that we would take it. Like, if it was guaranteed that we would get Caleb Williams, I think we all agreed that we would take it.
And remember we were talking about that early in the season. It's like, no way. Like, that's great. Like that, yeah, that's a pipe dream. That'd be so awesome to see materialize, even though it would suck to watch for a season.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way like the talent on this team and the great, the Hall of Fame worthy head coach and Russ having a bounce back. Like, no, that's not going to happen. But like, could potentially happen. Like, that's why this Bears game is so interesting. Because if you come out and lose to the Bears,
watch it more. Watch Caleb Williams more,
dude. So obviously, as you guys know, like I'm surrounded by Bears fans. My wife, my brothers-in-laws, and my brother-in-law texts me on Sunday, maybe Monday, and said, "God, I hope you guys beat us next Sunday." And I was arguing with him, like, "Nope, I hope you guys beat us." Like we're 3 weeks ago, we're sitting there talking crap to each other about, oh, the Bears suck, oh, the Broncos suck, well, just back and forth. And now it's like, no, we're gonna suck more. No,
we're worse.
And it's just, yeah. And I literally saw him tonight, and we were talking about that. We were talking about that same thing. And what's the name that got brought up while we were arguing with each other? Exactly. So it's if the Broncos come out and lay an egg against the Bears, like, dude, like,
we really telling this game.
I'm actually feeling better hearing
that's
all
what
this.
We're here to do for you,
and
Zach. We're here to make you feel better.
We're all coming to an agreement that this might be what the Broncos are doing. Yeah. And it's all making sense because, like I said, throughout this week, I've just been trying to figure out what the hell happened. And some of those thoughts have ran past my head and it's like, they have to be tanking. Like, they have to be.
It's almost like a therapy session right now. We all understand the Broncos might be tanking, and I'm okay with that.
So from here on out, I am going to hope for a loss.
Dude.
If that is the case. I hope we go 0-17.
Don't
care.
I was on the phone with my grandma earlier, and she's like as diehard as it gets. Like, one of the reasons I'm so diehard, like, she literally got a Broncos tattoo in 97. She's got the Broncos head on her arm. And she's also the reason I have the Broncos head that I do, because when Peyton signed, we agreed that if they win the Super Bowl under Peyton, we're going to go get Broncos tattoos together. And she actually got the horse, like, full forearm Bronco. And I was talking to her today, and she knows my situation with Bears fans and what I live with. And she's like, no, they can't lose. They're not going to lose the Bears. I'm like, no, we want them to, Grandma. We want them to. We do not want them to win another game. And it's going to suck, and we're going to hear shit about it from everybody until that freaking ticket is put in.
You can't hurt us now if that's the mindset we're going into. Yeah. Hey, good job, Chiefs. Hey, good job, Raiders. Oh, 8 in a row. Oh,
and that's
whatever.
Right, and that is what's giving me peace. That is what's giving me faith, and pretty much like setting my mind at ease. Like, no, I'm like past the point of like wanting the Broncos to be really good this year and wanting them to succeed and struggling. Like, even as I was watching that game on Sunday, I was like, okay, keep going. Like, whatever, Dolphins, keep going. And then next week, hopefully Justin Fields gets let loose a little bit and run wild. And then I'm like talking to myself, I'm like, the Jets, Zach Wilson is the worst quarterback in football, but man, they got a good defense. They might be able to shut the Broncos down. Like,
run.
Exactly. That's what's kept me sane through all this gloomy,
And why do you think Sean Payton has been so quiet with the media?
That's a piece that I have not even thought about, and you just made me even happier on the other side by saying it.
Because the media, that's all I've heard this offseason is just like how mad they are that Sean Payton is just keeping everything close to the chest.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because he doesn't want to give anything away,
dude. I mean, it could be. That might be true, honestly. Like, I never even thought of it that way. Because, like, he's not one to be, like, too open with the media. But it's funny, like, he is selecting, like I see these random Sean Payton articles all the time. but it's like not like with the Denver.
To feed the
sorry,
ego.
it's these. Oh, the Athletic, huge, huge company, and then he had the one with ESPN like right before the season, and where he's like making these outlandish statements and like he's choosing who he meets with. Like he met with Kay Adams before the season because she's as big as it gets in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Like he's just choosing like, yeah, don't remember. Hey, I'm still Sean Payton. Remember, I'm coaching again. I'm the coach of the Broncos. Don't forget about me. It's like it's almost like he's doing those kind of interviews. But Denver media, nope. I ain't talking to you about anything.
I'll talk to you next year.
I hope that is the case because I honestly cannot stomach the Broncos actually being this bad.
Like I said, Sean Payton's not dumb, and I can't accept the fact that Sean Payton is incompetent because he's not.
And think of it this way too, because we are all just talking about how the dude's full of himself. Let's not get it twisted.
Whatever.
Yeah, well, but my point in saying that is, say he does, and just as the season goes on, and people are just like starting, it's like, God, the Broncos are so bad. Are they? And it's gonna with every loss, especially if we lose to the Bears, with every loss, that word's gonna keep coming up, tank. That word's gonna keep coming up in the media and in circles around the NFL, tank. And say, yeah, Broncos. Say the plan comes to fruition and they're able to draft Caleb Williams, a franchise savior, and the NFL catches wind of it after the fact, and it's like, we need to change this. We need to put a draft lottery in. And forever, for the entire remainder of the NFL's existence, if that rule is in place, who would it be because of? Sean Payton. And that egotistical bastard will, on his deathbed, smile and be like, yep, I forever changed the NFL. Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I mean,
let's hope that's what's happening.
if we draft Caleb Williams, I don't know what I would do.
Now let's be real. Now we talked about this too through text. Like, who's our biggest competition for him?
Well, real quick, before we get into that, we got a question here from John Vargas. Yeah, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. What if by chance Caleb doesn't declare and we do have that number 1 pick? I'm guessing that's where he was going.
Yeah. Well, so
who's the next best quarterback?
Drake May.
That's who's going, I guess.
I find it hard to believe that Caleb's not going to commit,
and that's kind of kind of been the smoke, right? Yeah. That's like because I mean these NIL deals in college too are no joke.
Yeah, it doesn't compare to the number 1 pick though.
Right, true, but then like Caleb Williams has come out.
He would quadruple his salary in one day.
Well, even like before the football season started, before college season started, Caleb Williams' dad came out and said something like, these top quarterbacks are set up for failure by going to these dumpster organizations that, are rewarded the first pick for being bad. Who wants to go there?
But it's Sean Payton.
But not only that, it's like, who you're going to, like, what could happen next year? Caleb Williams could go in his first game back at USC, ACL tear, something. I don't see Caleb Williams staying. I just don't see like.
No, he's too hype. There's so much hype for Caleb Williams. They're comparing him to like Andrew Luck coming out of college, comparing him to Mahomes. They're saying he's the Mahomes right now.
Right.
Like Mahomes when he was in college was not the Mahomes he is now.
Yeah, they're exactly.
Saying Caleb Williams is Mahomes now.
He will automatically, like, no matter where, and even if it's not the Broncos or whoever he gets drafted by first overall, he will automatically be topping jersey sales. He will be on every commercial, and he already is. He's in Wendy's commercials. I've seen. You just go YouTube Caleb Williams, just Caleb Williams, not Caleb Williams highlights or anything. He's doing interviews with everybody. Like, I forget like the account, but it's like this account. Then I've seen it like with the top like Kevin Hart's and The Rock and super huge celebrities are on this account, and it's just like the 10 things you can't live without. And he is sitting at a desk and showing the 10 things he can't live without. Caleb Williams is already doing that. What's he going to be when he's the first overall pick and when he's the quarterback of the NFL? Like, he will automatically come in as be one of the most popular figures in all of NFL, which makes him one of the most popular figures in all of sports. And I know everybody, like, I know we're big Ben Albright guys. I know not everybody is, but he got asked this question about, like, do you really think Caleb would consider going back? And I trust Ben Albright's word on anything football, anything Broncos. And he said he just does not see a world where Caleb Williams goes back for another season in college.
Yeah, I agree. And especially,
I completely agree.
I mean, going to the Arizona Cardinals is one thing. Going to the Texans is one. I mean, Texans don't need a quarterback, but I'm just thinking of other bad teams. The only other team that I could see him being like, okay, I wouldn't mind going there, is the Raiders, which would be – we just got to be worse than the Raiders, okay? We can't let the Raiders beat us out for Caleb Williams.
Well, one thing's already good. We already lost to him.
Yeah, we already lost to him, so to have that. But we just need to lose more games than the Raiders. So
to keep losing.
But the Broncos, that still strikes people as a franchise.
Hopefully.
It's like, oh, I have an option to go to the Denver Broncos, historically great program, and Sean Payton's going to be my head coach.
Historically great quarterbacks.
Yes.
You have two of the greatest quarterbacks
that are always around.
Always
around, hanging out. And
quick, I compiled a list. I compiled our list down at the bottom. It's in the ticker of the potential number one picks that we all kind of, I guess, threw in there.
The Rams, yeah. See the Rams being.
For me, like the Rams, I think Sean McVay is too good of a coach. Like week 1 competed, or not week 1, week 2 played pretty damn good and pretty damn hard against the Niners. I think they'll be able to win some games. The Giants, again, they're in that division that's like any of those teams can beat each other at any given time. The Vikings, they're so good on offense that like they're
going to win games.
They're a couple plays away from being 3-0 right now.
Yeah, they're probably a 10-win team.
The Cardinals, who everybody was like, yeah, they're the worst team. They have no talent. First-year head coach that nobody really believes in. They are playing their asses off. They almost won their first 2 games, and then they come out and whooped the Cowboys. Nobody expected that. And, like, they're still not going to be a great team by any means, but they're like playing hard, and especially getting that win against the Cowboys. What do you think the players are thinking right now? Their confidence is higher than anybody in the league. The ones I worry about the most in the race for Caleb is obviously the Bears. Not only because like I think they are like a very talent deprived team and horribly coached and horribly run from top to bottom. And now the smoke is coming out that, well, maybe like a month ago it was Justin Fields is the next Jalen Hurts. He's going to take off this year. And now all of a sudden, which for good reason, obviously, he looks horrible. There's already reports coming out that many believe in the Bears organization that Caleb Williams or Justin Fields is not the long-term answer at quarterback.
Right.
So they scare me. One that I didn't even think about until I saw it scrolling down are the Jets.
That's one that scares me because of their roster right now.
And, well, their roster is stacked, but Saleh continues to run out the worst quarterback in the NFL every week. And now it's already starting to come out that there's already starting to be tension in the building between players and their head coach because he continues to support and run Zach Wilson out there. They did just sign Trevor Siemian.
And you might be able to sit behind Aaron for a year. Sign me up, buddy.
Exactly. And the Titans, like they look so bad too. Like, but they've also played in close games. Like their defense is really good, and they have like the best run defense in the league right now. Like nobody's running the ball on them, and they've been in close games too. It's not like they've been getting spanked through the first 3 weeks of the season. So,
right,
the Bears are the ones that like. That's why this game is so important to lose, and it hurts my heart as a Broncos fan saying that, and as a person in my situation with a wife and in-laws that are diehard Bears fans. As much as it hurts, it's like this is the one. Like you should probably lose this one. Not only that, the Bears might have the first 2 picks next year. They potentially could have the first 2 overall picks because of the trade with the Panthers, because the Panthers look horrible. The best thing for us is if Bryce Young is actually pretty hurt and stays out for a couple games, because Andy Dalton made that team look a lot better last week. So, like, I don't think the Panthers are another one. They could easily get the first overall pick, which means the Bears get the first overall pick. So we got to root for the Bears to win games and the Panthers to win games if the Broncos have a shot at the first overall pick.
Yeah,
or just lose out.
The Bears don't have many winnable games on their schedule. Kind of looking through it here.
But the Broncos' strength of schedule is still harder than the Bears this season.
Right.
And something that's playing in Broncos fans' favor, or the fans like us three that are hoping this is the case and that they're tanking for Williams, is that the Bears looked really bad last year too. And it was a lot to do with like the way they were calling plays for Justin Fields. And then like halfway through the season, like things just clicked and Justin Fields started just like tearing up the league. And even though they were still losing games, he was playing well. And the Matt Eberflus, the head coach of the Bears, he is not a huge name in the NFL. He doesn't seem like he's a great coach. Like, he's coaching for his job this year. He's not in the position of Sean Payton that's like, you're not getting rid of me after this year. Like, Sean Payton is the safest person in the Broncos building aside from the owners. And that's talking about the players, the execs, the managers, everything. Sean Payton is the safest person in the Broncos building, where Matt Eberflus is not safe with the Bears, which means his coaching staff is not safe. So they're going to do what they can to get some wins up this season. So that's what I'm like buying into, is that. Go ahead, Zach.
Quick,
sorry.
John Vargas, he commented on here. He actually just texted me. I actually work with him.
Oh, yeah.
Bears will also have plenty of cap space to play with, so that's another thing to. But
in terms of the draft, that means nothing.
Well, he's saying like it's more appealing because Caleb could go there and he's on a rookie contract. And
true.
The only thing that I could think of that's appealing about the Bears is how easy it would be to be the best quarterback of all time for them. That's the only thing that I could think of that's appealing about him. Well, I had to take a shot real quick.
I like it. And it's like, I was thinking about it too, because like when I'm arguing with my brother-in-law about, no, we're going to suck worse. We're going to go get Caleb Williams. You're not going to. It's like, Bears fans don't deserve Caleb Williams. The Bears organization doesn't deserve Caleb Williams. Like,
no.
Yeah, the Broncos have been bad for the last – because I won't even say they were bad the year or even the second year after the Super Bowl. They were still winning games. They were still giving us something to root for and to give us hope. And, of course, like the quarterback carousel and the coaching carousel that happened after, that was obviously a struggle. Like, the Bears have been doing that for decades.
85, baby.
They have been a joke of a franchise in the NFL, and like now it's coming out. I've been seeing like reports and rumors that like everybody thinks so, that they're from top to bottom the worst run organization in all of football. It's like they don't deserve that. They don't deserve Caleb Williams. The Broncos, we deserve it. You know what I mean?
What if Caleb was
obviously selfish?
What if Caleb pulled like an Eli Manning? He's like,
I've
or
thought
John
about
Elway.
that.
And he's like, either you trade me to the Broncos right now, or I'm going back to USC.
Or just trade me in general.
Dude, honestly, he could do that in January. If say the Bears have the number 1 pick, Broncos have the number 2 or 3 pick, or whatever it may be. He could say that in January. If I don't end up falling to the Broncos, I'm going back.
Or just anybody that he likes in general. Like the college season will be over, or the NFL season will be over before the college season is, because the USC is probably going to play into the playoff or at least get close to it. So they'll be playing after the first pick is decided.
Right.
So
I had a train of thought, but I lost it.
I'm on the Caleb Williams train now. That's all I care about. I can't, like I said, even before we started really going down the rabbit hole with this, I don't see the point in winning at all. Maybe win one against the Chiefs. Like, that would be cool.
Yeah,
Go
that'd be
1-16. You have one against the Chiefs. You know, hey.
Well, that's the thing. The Broncos are going to win. I mean, even if this is a tank job, say, they're going to win a couple games.
I mean, they have to not make it too obvious, right?
Well, not only that, but like, say we do beat the Bears. It's not the end of the world.
I know.
And it would hurt.
I can't believe we're talking like that.
I know.
No! And
Right.
my wife's like, seriously, are you happy when they win? You're sad when they lose. You're sad when they win. Figure it out.
Well, let's just. So I just pulled up the schedule, and I just pulled up the Broncos' remaining schedule, and yeah, we got the Bears, which the Broncos should win. Like, they really should. They're not as on paper, coaching wise, like coach, or at least head coach, quarterback. You know, we got the best corner in the league. Like, they're not as bad as the Bears. Then they go to New York. You could even get away with a win there. If you end the season at 2-15, I mean, you are right in the realm of first overall.
Yeah,
we're 2-3 though. I'm gonna have a hard time rooting for that number one pick.
No,
after
not
2
me.
wins in a row.
Not when you after that you
That's
go
how
into
it looks,
Arrowhead.
I guess.
You go into Arrowhead on a Thursday night game. That'll
That's
bring us
already-
back
that's
to
num-
reality.
Yeah, you're right.
Then you play the Packers, who the Packers have looked pretty damn good.
Jordan Love looks pretty good.
Jordan Love looks like he could be the real deal, and they're very well coached, and they have a good roster. And then after the Packers, you're playing the Chiefs again. You're not beating the Chiefs this year. That dream's out the window.
I said that before the year started.
Right. Then you have our bye, which would be like, at that point, even if like things go well for us, at that point the Broncos are 2-6. Then you have a bye. If all this like talk about Russ potentially being benched and having Jarrett Stidham play out the rest of the season as the starter, that looks like as good a time as any, right? To make that change after 3 losses, and especially a loss to the Chiefs going into the bye week. Then after the bye week, you're going to Buffalo. You ain't winning that game. Then you play the Vikings, which their defense is horrible, but they're putting up crazy numbers on offense. And you saw what a good – yep. Then you go –
Unfortunately, it's prime time.
Yeah, and then you play the Browns. Yeah, true. Yeah, it is prime time. But then you play the Browns, who like have the best defense in the league this year out of nowhere. And Deshaun is not back to where he was, but he's showing some signs, and they have good weapons. Then you go to Houston and play the Texans, which that's another one that you could probably win, but that's kind of the talk right now, is that like the Panthers should have drafted CJ Stroud first overall this year, because Stroud looks freaking great. And they're having young players like break out of nowhere. So that could potentially be an easy loss for the Broncos.
By December, that could easily come together.
Exactly. And then you're playing in LA against the Chargers, which they're always close games that the Broncos somehow always go 1-1 with the Chargers, but
let them sweep us.
Yeah, Staley's coaching for his life, and he's a horrible coach too. Then you play in Detroit. Detroit's pretty good, and especially at home, Detroit is really good. Then you go play New England, which they're always a tough out, and then you finish with the Chargers and then at Raiders. This is doable, boys. The Broncos could actually
we can do this.
Do it.
0-17 until proven otherwise.
I want to make a comment just real quick. I would have fired Staley after the win. I don't.
for
I'm
going
the
for it on that
Chargers.
fourth down.
Oh,
For giving him the ball on the 20, 30-yard line. Like you
I mean, I
gave him
love it.
you handed him the win. They didn't win, but
As a Broncos fan, I love it. I hope they keep Staley around for another 10 years, if I'm being honest.
I hope they give him a contract for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's so funny about like this new state of mind I've forced myself into as a Broncos fan. It's like I'm like rooting like hard for these really bad teams to win games, especially after the Cardinals. Like I was like actively like I put the Cardinals Cowboys game on my iPad and I was like, let's go Cardinals, because you're like, yeah, this is good. Like
you look
let's
back,
go.
you have a Kyler Murray jersey on.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, let's go.
I'm gonna get a jersey of every other team except the Raiders,
yeah,
except the Chargers, except the Chiefs.
Yeah,
and I'm just gonna wear it. Be like,
go Josh Dobbs, baby.
Yeah. Go Broncos. Go Broncos.
Right.
Why are you wearing that jersey? You'll see next year.
Yeah. It is funny too.
Wait till I have
Vikings,
my 13 on.
Did you guys realize that the 4 winless teams in the NFL play each other this year or this week? So the Broncos and Bears play.
Dang.
And the Vikings and the Panthers play each other. So I don't.
Well, the Panthers can lose every game. I don't care. They drafted their quarterback last year.
But Caleb Williams is the quarterback.
True.
If you have the first pick next year and you don't take Caleb Williams,
the Cardinals just did it.
What are you doing? Exactly.
Didn't work out, but
right.
Well, gents, it's getting pretty late, so we should probably call it here soon. What an interesting podcast. It was nice. I'm still sad.
It's good to see you smile, though, Zach.
Zach,
sad, this is your prediction right now. Like laying out.
I mean, so far I'm right, but now I want them to be 0-17. So
don't watch them rattle off a 5-game win streak.
I'm throwing all my pride out the window this year if Sean Payton can reel us back in with Caleb Williams. Because if we go 0-17, it's like, okay, we really need to draft Caleb Williams. Like that needs to be the end goal here. And I'm watching the draft and we draft Caleb Williams. I'm set. I'm excited. Yeah. I am right back to the Russell Wilson signing. That's where I'm back to.
And then even then some, because you should have the guy for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah. And you're going to have him cheap for at least 2 years.
Right.
You know, because you want it to be 2 years, because if you're already talking about extending his contract for another 10, he's great. So,
right.
All I'm asking though is Sean Payton, you know, on your next press conference, if we're tanking, give us a little wink somewhere. One wink. Yeah.
Oh no, he's gonna
say, hey, we're definitely not tanking.
I think that's why this game is so this game is going to be so telling to because obviously we're just talking craziness right now and it's all conspiracy and this and that, but where there's smoke, there's fire. Isn't that the saying? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And
right.
There's a lot of smoke, and especially with every loss, like I said earlier, that tank word is going to keep coming up, and Sean Payton is going to be brought up with the word. So that's why I think this Bears game is going to be so interesting to see. I think it's going to be, if the Broncos lose this game, then it's just going to be front page news. The Broncos are tanking for Caleb Williams. 100%. If the Broncos lose to the Bears, honestly, if the Broncos lose to this team with this roster that we have and this quarterback and this head coach, the smoke will start to freaking show some flames a little bit, I think.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, even if we're looking at our roster through orange-colored glasses, Broncos glasses, however you want to put it, I mean, our roster's better.
Right.
I mean, no matter which way you look at it. I mean, we can break it down position by position. I don't know if they've got a single one on us.
They don't. They really don't. Inside linebacker probably, because they signed Tremaine Edmonds and then I forget the other guy, Brooks, I think. But even then, like that's like the one position that they might have an edge. That's literally it.
Right.
And maybe second cornerback because Damari Mathis. I'm with you now, Zach. He sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But keep rolling them out there, baby.
Yeah.
You should just sit Surtain the rest of the year.
Put Surtain on their second receiver.
Yeah. Surtain, hey, man, you've been working really hard. I think you should sit the rest of the year out because we're really going to need it next year.
You know what, man? I think you should actually just cover running backs out of the backfield.
Yeah.
But, all righty, boys.
They're blocking, just hang out.
Yeah.
I know we got to be up early tomorrow, so we'll call it there. I don't even see the point in doing score predictions. We all hope they lose. So, but
I hope we're gonna lose 3-0. Chicago wins.
You know,
barn burner.
It would really work out for Sean Payton if this is what he's truly doing. Is if from here on out every game is a shootout, but we end up losing every game.
Yeah, like we lose every game 28-24 or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's 31-33. Like just these crazy shootouts and stuff. But
I didn't want to throw wild numbers like the 30s out there. I wanted to stay in the 20s.
Right, exactly.
Real quick before we get out of here, it just popped in my head. Like we keep talking about how Sean Payton, he's a smart dude. You don't think he hears what's being talked about? You don't think
for sure, 100%.
The name Caleb Williams has crossed his mind after what happened last weekend? I mean, it probably started after the 0-2, but like after what we just saw, you don't think like that name is, I don't know, just popped to his head randomly throughout this week?
If you believe that conspiracy, he was thinking it day one he got hired.
Right, but it's just like
even before that.
There's no way he's not thought like, man, what if? Even if the conspiracy is not true, even if he was just being a dick about everybody from the past, from last year, I think like 100% like the name that like if Caleb Williams' name popped into his head, he'd have to think of how could I pull this off? Like what if I could? So even if the conspiracy is not true, that name has popped into his head. And for anybody that's listening that has not watched Caleb Williams, go watch the beatdown he's going to put on CU's defense this weekend.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And CU's getting there, but Bo Nix tore him up.
Same situation. Like CU's going to get more recruiting the next couple of years, and it's going to be a different program. So
right. But
it's already
go watch that game because it's prime time for college football. And anybody that hasn't seen this dude play, when they say Mahomes, like they're not lying.
Yeah.
I'm so torn about this game. I'm so excited to see Caleb Williams.
That's why we are as passionate about this guy as we are.
Go to Folsom Field. For those that are listening, go to Folsom Field and chant, "Come to Denver. Come to Denver."
You know you're going to hear it. You know you're going to hear it.
We will at some point.
This is a big weekend for Denver football, or for Colorado football.
Yeah, you're going to see potentially your future quarterback playing against your college team.
Yeah, and you got to root for the Bears to beat the fucking Broncos.
It's for the best.
I've had to explain to my 4-year-old because I told him we want the Bears to win this weekend, and he was not down. He was not okay. Like, Daddy, no, Bears suck.
Not okay with this.
I know, but trust me, dude. I told him, for your sake, as a future lifelong fan, you want this to happen.
For the next 10 to 15 years of your life.
I told him
this is the only time. Mental health.
This is the only time, though. So my wife said she's going to roll out one of her Bears jerseys for me, but I don't think I'll be able to put it on.
Oh, I was joking.
Yeah. I couldn't do it, but still.
Nothing wrong with laying it on the couch right behind you, though.
Yeah. You're going to have plenty of Bears jerseys around you.
Right.
So you're like, oh no, Russ, another pick. Oh
yeah. Damn it, Mathis. Why did you miss that tackle?
Oh, better get him next time.
Dude, if we don't see Pat Surtain following around DJ Moore everywhere he goes. That might be all we need to know right there.
Right.
That's the only guy that can hurt you on that offense. that might be it right there. Might be the sign.
Right.
They're going to have him following Chase Claypool.
Then we'll really know what's going on.
Yeah, our
Right.
players just sitting next to him on the bench.
Yeah. Right.
He's just sitting on their bench.
What are you doing? How come you're not playing?
Oh,
Dude,
that's
I'm
where they
in.
told me to be.
Bigger picture.
Right.
Alrighty, boys. We should really call it. But thank you for this very therapeutic session. This was really nice. I am feeling a lot better. It's Caleb Williams season. That's all I care about.
Let's go.
I would be more upset if we go out and just win. Even if we made the playoffs, I'm like, what's the point? Like, you're going to have a quarterback with a $50 million cap hit next year. So,
yeah.
Not getting younger. Let's be real.
Lose it out. Let's lose it out, boys. Let's just swallow this tough pill right now. And the future's going to look bright if we end up with the first overall draft pick. So, it's going to look very, very, very bright.
Which the Broncos have never had in their entire history. And it's a
First
hell of a
time
year
ever?
to have it.
Yeah, first time we ever have it. It's going to be the first time we draft our own quarterback, and it's going to be the first time our own quarterback takes us to multiple Super Bowls.
This is the only time we want it. This is the only time we want it.
Right. And let's be honest with ourselves real quick, Broncos country. Russell Wilson was never a 5-year plan. It was never a 10-year plan. It was a now
when
plan.
Hackett was there. And
Last year I thought he was.
Yeah, and I did too.
I'm being
before
real
started,
with you.
before they started playing.
I mean, Russ said he wanted to play another 10 years, but I mean, sure, five years maybe might have been the plan, but I don't think it was really realistic to look beyond that.
I was fully bought in, man. I'm embarrassing. It's embarrassing looking back how bought in I was to Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
What's your 5-year plan?
Oh,
there he is. He's coming
there he
back.
is. All right, gents.
Right on.
Thank you both for coming on. Always appreciate the time that you guys take to do this. Thanks to everyone that was listening. Appreciate you guys. Much love. I know it's weird hearing Bronco fans saying they want their team to lose, but like I said, it's for the best. It really is, because it's better for your salary cap. It's better for the future of your team. We're gonna finally be able to, stop relying on free agency for quarterbacks or making these blockbuster deals or yada yada yada. So yeah, it sucks because the season just started. So now I gotta endure 14 weeks of hoping your team loses. So and
Thank God for fantasy football.
My fantasy team sucks this year, man. So,
I'm actually
we got
rocking
Nuggets
pretty
in 2
good.
weeks, boys. We got
That's
Nuggets
true.
in 2 weeks.
And
yeah,
Avs are starting
we got basketball and hockey coming back, so that could fill the void for sure.
3
So
to 4
with
weeks, we
great
got puck
teams.
drop. Let's go, boys.
Exactly. So, but gents, what'd you say, Jimmy?
That this flag is going to be switched out for a Navs flag pretty quick.
There you go.
For the
pod. Gents, thank you guys. You guys have a good night, and you guys have a great rest of your week at work. And like always, go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Go Bears.